everybody, Thunder Kitten here, and I am with my good friend, the Madman.
Hello, future minions.
Do you mean viewers?
We can go with that.
So I'm here with my friend, the Madman, and we are going to be talking about RWBY Volume 5, Chapter 5. I'm very excited. What about you?
This episode is one of my favorites so far.
Yeah? And you're completely caught up, which the last episode that came out was episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched episode 6. Full disclosure, I have not actually caught up, which is really lame. But it was the episode that just came out over the weekend as this is being recorded, so...
I will keep spoilers of episode 7 to a minimum.
I will kill you otherwise.
But necromancers are so expensive.
Oh, yeah, it's true. All right, do you want to kick this off for us today, or do you want me to do it?
You go first.
All right, so the episode opens on Menagerie, and we've got Blake and Sun running around, and they're trying to recruit people for their cause. They want to help recruit people to fight for Haven Academy. They're not really having much luck. And we kind of learn that, the Faunus, most of the Faunus who have settled on Menagerie really don't want to be bothered. They just sort of want to live their lives and live in peace. And they don't really want to journey out into the world and fight battles for especially humans.
And why would they after all the persecution they've gone through?
Exactly. It's been a rough road for the Faunus. Let's be completely honest.
And now being asked to go fight the humans' war, there's definitely going to be a turnoff there. It also shows just, honestly, pretty good representation of human nature of why should I go fight and help them if it doesn't affect me directly? Mm-hmm. As they're so far away.
Yeah.
Safe in Menagerie.
Right. I think for the Faunus at this point, a lot of it is sort of out of sight, out of mind. They're happy on Menagerie. Nothing goes on in Menagerie. It's basically this little paradise for the Faunus in a way, even though it was just basically a pity gift, kind of like, here, you can have this island, we get the rest of the world. But for them, the place is gorgeous. They don't have to worry about anybody coming in and telling them what to do, and they're free to do whatever they want, live their lives, start businesses, blah, blah, blah. But
as far as I've seen, there's no Grimm.
It's true. They must be living a happy enough life if there's no Grimm hanging out on Menagerie. That's a good point. Especially Menagerie isn't, it's not a huge place. It's
fairly small.
It's a fairly sizable island, but it's not anywhere close to the size of the main continents that we see.
You'd think there'd at least be some sea Grimm.
Sea Grimm! Like the big old sea serpent that they encounter on the boat in Volume 4.
Yep.
Just gonna let that sit there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I meant in Menagerie.
Right. Yep. I hadn't actually thought about that. You don't even see any sort of evidence of that. And, the same thing goes with, like, at Beacon. When we're, Volume 1 and 2, you really didn't see any Grimm within the city surrounding Beacon.
That's also where the Hunters' headquarters are, though, so...
Yeah, I guess people felt safe. They didn't have all those negative emotions of, oh no, these Grimm might come and attack me. I don't know what that was. I'll be honest.
So without that stress and worrying, Grimm just aren't attracted to them. Mm. And the occasional stray Grimm that shows up is going to be dealt with fairly quickly.
Yeah, definitely in Vale. The
oh,
quick
hey,
call.
There's a Grimm. There's a hunter around the corner, I'm sure. They'll deal with it.
There's a whole team of hunters around the corner. They're shopping.
Yeah.
Coco needed a new
stores. I think I saw one 2 stores down.
It's like Coco's just like trying on some new boots or something. Like, you're ruining my shopping day.
Hey, Coco, we need you out here. This is my day off. But there's a Grimm.
Day off.
I get 1 day off. Fine.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was really interesting was we actually get to see aquatic faunus.
It took me a second when I first saw them to register, wait, we haven't seen any of them in the series yet.
No, we haven't. So, like, mer people are real in Remnant. How cool is that? I think that's really awesome. Though, I might have misinterpreted something. It kind of looked like on Menagerie there were people who were fishing. Did you catch that, or am I imagining things?
Now that I think about it, I think there was.
I think there were some people fishing. Like, what is that? Is that okay? Is that ethical to be fishing if your friends are part fish?
I guess it depends on what type of fish they are.
I suppose that's true. Or maybe it's just a fun game that they're playing with their friends. Like, ha ha, I caught you. It's like underwater tag, but with bait.
And sharp hooks.
And sharp hooks. This is
no,
awful.
he got me again.
Man, why haven't the Grimm invaded this place? Menagerie is a lot darker than we realized.
I don't know, maybe the Grimm just don't want to be hunted for fun.
The Grimm don't want. They don't want to be hunted
away from there.
For sport.
No, they lure us there.
Here's something that I thought was really cool. We see Blake and Sun after they've failed to recruit anybody. We see them sitting at a table talking over drinks, just like we saw in Volume 1. It's like a nice little callback to that first conversation that we see between her and Sun when we first find out that she's a faunus. And what's really interesting is the subject matter of this conversation is actually quite similar. She's talking about her past in the White Fang, just like she did before in Volume 1. And I just thought that was a really nice callback.
It also allows them to show just how much she's grown since then.
It's true. She's much more talkative in that conversation. She doesn't need any prompting. She's willingly giving up this information. She feels much closer to Sun. And she even sort of expresses that. She talks about how he's constantly been there to help her and how he's never really given up on her.
How he's earnest.
He's earnest, yes, exactly. I thought that was a really interesting
choice.
Yes. It was really funny whenever we were first watching that, and my husband was sitting there waiting for her to say the word, and before she did, he was like, goofball? I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good one. I thought that was a really interesting character trait for Blake, that she's picking up on these little bits, these little pieces of each person and sort of labeling them in a way, but...
It also definitely shows how she views people.
Yes. And I don't know, I thought it was very interesting that as a general rule, she's picking out things that can be great strengths or detrimental weaknesses.
Yes.
They're very neutral terms for the most part until she's like, I actually realized that Adam was evil.
Yeah, my first two ones were wrong.
I am terrible at this game, apparently.
I got everyone else right.
You know, that's just a good example of how Blake saw Adam very differently before. Is she wasn't willing to see this bad side of him. Maybe he hid it from her, or maybe, because he seems like a fairly manipulative person. Maybe he did hide it from her, or maybe she just wasn't willing to see it. Blake seems like the type of person who, while on the surface she seems very pessimistic or cynical,
very emotional on the inside.
She's very emotional, and she's very optimistic in her own sort of way. Is she wants to see things through these sort of rose-colored glasses, if you would.
Considering just the hints that they've done about her relationship with Adam, it definitely goes to show that she wouldn't want to see that. Because you generally want to view the best in the people you care about, and you don't want to see their weaknesses, their flaws. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the more that she talks about Adam in the show, I feel like that's something that they are doing a very good job of doing. And I like how it's all just little tidbits. We're not getting this huge information dump of Adam, and it's keeping that mystery.
They're playing it really well.
They are. I gotta give them a great big kudos for that.
Every time she starts talking about Adam, they have my full attention. It's like, oh, what's next?
What else are we going to learn today? Yeah.
What else did he do?
How horrible is he? Tell me now!
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, and I'm still very curious to see, how did they meet exactly? Obviously, they met in the White Fang, but under what circumstances? And how did they become basically partners? And how did that relationship become what it was? How did they get so close?
One thing I've wondered is, did Adam become friends with her because her dad was leading it? at the time,
yeah.
and if that was his way of trying to climb the ranks and get power, because it very much seems like that's Adam's goal, is to get as much power as possible.
Yeah.
It seems like he doesn't actually care about the rest of the faunus.
I feel like he might be. I feel like he believes in his cause for sure, but I think there is sort of that possibility of he might actually just be using that as his excuse.
At the very least, I think it's secondary.
His main priority is himself, for sure. I think that's pretty obvious. But kind of going back to what Adam might have been like prior to what we know now, is he could have been, like you said, he could have been working this whole scheme the whole time. Or, I mean, was it sort of a slow descent?
Gradual process.
Yeah, I mean, was it he actually started off with good intentions and got corrupted somehow, or...
As often happens with groups like that.
Right, because whenever Blake is actually first talking about... we assume that she's talking about Adam in this scene in Volume 3, where she talks about trusting a person. You know, after Yang is trying to explain that she didn't do this horrible thing to Mercury intentionally, she thought that he was attacking her. You know, Blake's talking about how this person changed. They weren't who I thought they were anymore. And so I wonder...
It definitely makes a situation where she could throw up her guard and stop trusting people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it seems like that's what she did at first, before Sun, was Sun.
He was Sun.
There's not really another way to say that.
Not really. He's earnest.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Before Sun was being earnest towards her.
That sounds so flirtatious.
It really does.
So, I see that Sun has been earnest with Blake,
Inquiring minds want to know.
He's wooing her.
Does
the new
Yang
term.
need to worry about this?
Yeah. Gira's just like, why are you being earnest with my daughter? But yeah, whenever we first meet Blake at the very beginning of the show, she seems very closed off. She seems like she doesn't really openly trust people. And she has good reasons for it.
Oh, yeah. Going back to Adam, I'm pretty sure, or my view of it was that they grew up together in the White Fang. Because if we see, they've done flashbacks to Blake protesting as a little kid.
Yes.
As being part of the White Fang. So it goes to say that, along with Ilya, they all came up together in this. Yeah,
you kind of get a little bit of that teased in that conversation that she's having with Sun in this episode. She's talking about whenever her father stepped down and she decided to stay in the White Fang because she had Adam and Ilya. And I forget exactly how old she was, because if you do the math, in Volume 4 she actually talks about how many years it had been since he had stepped down and she had kind of defied her parents and stayed in the White Fang. And I don't remember exactly the numbers, but at one point I did do the math, and I think she was about 12 years old or something, I think is what I figured out, whenever Gira stepped down. So she was...
very little when she started.
Very little. I mean, she was obviously younger than that. I think that's really clear. While her father was in charge, she was part of the White Fang. But at the time that he stepped down and she's all like, well, I'm not going to leave the White Fang.
Which... it honestly isn't uncommon when it comes to groups like this and movements like this for oftentimes little kids to be there holding signs.
Yeah.
So, and they come up in that.
Yes.
It's just another great detail that they've put there of this is what happens in real life.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly what happens in real life. Kids are so easily influenced. The environment that they grow up in has a huge impact on the type of person that they're going to grow up to be. And I think it's fascinating how we're seeing a great example of how this situation affected Blake versus how it affected Adam.
Going back to Ilya, I think she was probably, of the three, the last one to join, because we've heard her history about how she had the chance to pass as human, and she did for a little while.
Yeah, in this conversation, Blake actually references a lot of Ilya's past that we learn about in Blake's character short. And she basically just does a summary of it, which I thought was very interesting.
And it just adds to the dynamic, and I think that's why Ilya's at the place she is as far as her decision to be all in for the White Fang or not. Because, yeah, she wasn't in as long as Adam and Blake. But when she joined, I'm guessing Blake and Adam were both in a pretty good place, established, and so I think she'd be looking up to them.
Very possibly. I mean, we don't know exactly how old she would have been. Obviously, Blake does reference, I had Adam and Ilya at that point in time. So we know that at least that's how long she's been in it, which it's still a substantial amount of time. Still from a very young age. I also feel like it's very interesting just the way that Blake chooses to word certain things and the expression on her face. Great job, animators. And the voice acting of the always wonderful Aaron Zek. You can see and hear the concern that Blake has for Ilya in this situation.
Ilya's definitely coming up on a crossroad, and Blake knows it.
Yeah, and I think that the end of the episode, we'll get to that in just a moment,
Oh, yeah.
but the end of the episode makes it very clear that she's got a choice to make, and I don't know, I feel like that's really up in the air at this point. I'm very excited.
I'm very curious to see how that goes.
Yes. So, ending that little conversation that Blake has with Sun, I was so happy to hear her say, I want to save my friends for once. She's having this whole little speech, basically, of, you've always been there for me. You've been earnest towards me. And
now it's my time to give back.
Yes.
To be a part of this team versus just a part.
Yeah.
A passive part of it.
Yes. And that's just building on where her character was at the end of Volume 4. Where she's like, we're gonna take back the White Fang. Yeah, girl, you go get it. And then she's like, I'm gonna save my friends. And I'm like, yee!
So she's had so much growth throughout the story arc.
She really has. Even with the shortcomings of how her character was presented in Volume 4. They're making up for it. And I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah.
And I love her so much. So, moving on to the next scene, the scene changes, and we've got Oscar training.
Yes.
He's training with Ozpin's cane. And he's sort of getting in touch with his past life. And
he still hasn't come to terms with it, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, and he's obviously, he makes reference to, the familiarity of the cane, even though he's only had it for a few days. And it's all kind of coming to him. Like, I feel like this is...
He's finally adjusting to being dropped into a completely different world. I mean, granted, he's fought Small Grim, he knows about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a completely different level.
Right. And he's very uncertain if he can deal with it. I mean...
He doesn't even have the experiences that Ruby and the gang have had to build up to this. So it's a bigger load to drop on him.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly how old Oscar is supposed to be, but I get the impression he is supposed to be younger than Ruby. Or at least the same age as her.
I was thinking younger.
I think so too. I lean towards that. So, I mean, he was definitely at an age where he could have trained at some place like Signal, the equivalent of Signal.
But I get the feeling he wasn't.
He wasn't. No, I mean, he didn't want to, or he wasn't able to.
That's the impression I got, because he mentioned how he wanted to be more than just a farmhand.
Yeah.
But, he didn't know how to do it, or
I mean, he could
didn't
have
have
just
the resources.
Could have just lied. I mean, some people have done that before. Been like, here, let me go to your school. Yes, I have skills. We're not going to point any fingers or anything.
No, not at all.
No. Somebody...
The reason why I don't think that's the case, or I think it was a matter of money than not being able to afford it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case with a lot of people. I think that it was that David and I were talking about this, that we really get to see the fact that these people in the world, the majority of the people in the world are just normal people. And that hunters and huntresses are not the norm. And they're basically these elite fighters that, only so many people get the opportunity to train to be a hunter or huntress.
Volume 4 and up to this point, Volume 5 has done a great job of saying, hey, this is not everywhere. This is just the big cities.
Yeah, now that we're getting to see these small towns that are getting regularly attacked by Grimm, or just having the constant danger of Grimm coming and destroying everything that they've ever built.
And even when they're not dealing with Grimm, they have to deal with the different raiders, the different criminals out there that are more than happy to be like, oh, you've got stuff.
Yeah, you mean
I want it.
You mean like bandits?
Yes.
Oh, those bandits, man.
Which in turn leads to another Grimm attack.
Yeah. People are gonna get upset whenever you steal their stuff and kill them. Just a thought. And if you don't have proper walls or proper defenses, and they talk about this on the show. They talk about how small villages, they
just don't have the resources to put up a good defense.
Yeah, and they don't really stand much of a chance against a bunch of attacking Grimm. And that's just awful, isn't it?
Even if they did have the resources to go ahead and try and take the steps to do the defense, every time they got attacked, it would put them back so far that they'd never be able to get it done.
Yeah. Still want to know, where did the Grimm come from? Which, we were given some hints.
Yes.
We were given a nice little mythology in Volume 4.
But as we've seen, the mythology isn't always as accurate as we thought it was.
Yes. So I'm curious to see how close to the real story that was with the... let's not be vague here. The two god brothers, the one who's basically like, I'm the good guy, and the one who's basically like, I'm the bad guy, Do they exist? Did they create the Grimm? What's going on there? Is Salem an agent of this evil god person? Is she the evil god person? I don't know. Theories.
Was she created by the evil god to, continue his work?
Yeah. Could have been. She's basically just the heir to that sort of legacy in a way. Like, hey, peace out. I gotta go to hang out in my little godly place, but you can, deal with this for me.
I'm heading out the world. Thank goodness he's gone. Oh no, don't worry. I've left you in good hands.
I left it in good hands. Oh man, and we've got RWBY in this scene. Going back to what we were talking about. With Oscar and all that stuff. That was a smooth transition. That's what we call a professional segue, people.
I feel like this scene was very important for Oscar's growth.
Oh, yeah.
I think that conversation with RWBY is going to be what pushes him over the edge of being able to cope with all this, being able to come to terms with it and accept it. Mm-hmm.
And RWBY, I love this scene so much. Because RWBY gets to show off her ability to reach people with her words. That's always been a strong suit of hers. Yeah. And this conversation reminds me a lot of some of the talks that she had with her friends in Volumes 1 and 2. And so coupled with that scene with Blake and Sun having their little conversation and their drinks, coupled with that, it helps to ground this new volume to its predecessors in my mind. And I greatly appreciate that, especially given how much has actually changed. We've not just had location changes and character development. And
this way we very much see that they are the same characters.
Yeah.
Despite everything that has happened. Their core personalities are the same.
Yes, exactly. And it's just a refreshing thing to see. That it's like, oh yeah, this is the same RWBY that we know and love. And me and David make jokes about this all the time, where it's like RWBY doesn't herself get a lot of character development. But
no, not at all.
I feel like she will later as she gets older. She's still sort of in this nebulous stage, I feel like.
But she's definitely the tool for just about everybody's character growth.
Yeah. She's not only the glue that sort of holds all of these crazy characters together, but, like Ozpin even says, she's got a spark. she's kind of this spark to ignite everybody else's character growth. And I really like that. She's this catalyst. And it's awesome.
Now I'm just curious to see how they have her character grow, because they've become fairly reliant on her for that.
They have. And I'm not saying that she has... I'm not saying that she hasn't had any character growth.
Oh, no, of course not.
Because, she has. It's gonna happen as you get older. There just hasn't been a focus on it.
Never really a clear cut, this is her fault and this is what she's doing to fix it, like with the others.
Yeah. She's basically been more or less a witness to a lot of things. She's just seen a lot of things happen to her friends and experienced a lot of things happening to her, but not necessarily because she did anything to cause it.
Yeah. This gets into the fan theories and all that stuff, but I'm wondering if they use Pyrrha at all to sort of push forward her growth at all.
Maybe. It was really nice to see her referencing Penny and Pyrrha in this conversation. Just in case we forgot the feels, she's reminding us that we have them. And
not again.
It still hurts. Too soon, Ruby.
Nothing bad ever happens.
Nothing bad ever happens. I love how this is the funniest thing to me. Everybody's going to listen back to this and they're just going to be like, TK's laughing at all of her own jokes. And Madman's just like, why am I here? Because you laugh silently.
I need to get closer to the microphone. That is a big problem.
It's like we can't actually hear you laughing. You might want to...
You're
making me look bad.
Well, that is my job.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, your husband is paying me to do that.
I knew it. That jerk.
While we're watching that scene when Oscar is asking, how can you deal with this? All the stuff that's happened. In my mind, I half saw like Nora jump out and say, nothing bad ever happens, like in the RWBY Talks episode.
Oh, that would be so funny. That would have been perfect.
Like, what are you talking about? Nothing bad ever happens. There's nothing to cope with.
Right. Especially given that RWBY takes this opportunity to remind us of the limited effectiveness of plot armor in this show. She's basically just like, anyone could die at any time. Just a reminder. Thank you, RWBY.
Don't get too attached.
It's really nice.
We're trying to give George R. R. Martin a run for his money.
Yeah. Apparently. So, given that Salem obviously has no qualms about killing off anybody, do you have any predictions for any character deaths that might happen in this season or later seasons? Volumes, sorry.
As of now, no. Because it seems like all the characters are at a point where any of them could be killed off. So it's hard to say one over another.
Yeah.
And just the effects that any of it would have.
I
could see Tyrion dying.
Yeah. Speaking of Tyrion, we haven't seen him this volume yet.
Mm-hmm.
Very curious to see him and what he's up to. Because Salem obviously has plans for him.
And his new tail.
Yes. Still figuring that out. Curious how that's going to play out. I've had this really weird feeling, I think since like volume 3. I've just had this really weird feeling that Sun is going to die at some point.
I could see that. It would definitely push Blake's character a lot further along.
Yeah. And for him, I feel like it would be a moment of him saving her in a way.
If he does,
or sacrificing himself for somebody else.
I think it would be at the hands of Adam.
Ooh,
in particular.
that would be rough. Ooh. How cool would it be if, Blake is seeing Ilya essentially, like she's seeing the good in her and like either trying to convince her to not be a bad person or Ilya's thinking about maybe I should be a good guy, maybe I should be follow Adam, whatever, and seeing her on the fence, and then Sun does something like he gets killed like protecting Ilya,
pushes her out of the way as the blade goes
Oh, and then Ilya's all like, why did he do that for me? And then she has like this crisis, and maybe she becomes a good guy. I don't know. That would be really cool.
One question I have is, if she does leave the White Fang, will she start helping out Blake and the other teams? Will she just sit out and go to the sidelines and say, no, I'm done?
I don't know. Again, she is at this crossroads, man. She could be the most evil person ever and actually...
Haha, all along I was running things.
Secretly, I've been behind the curtain. No, I don't think that's the case, but... I mean, she's gonna have to make a choice, and I'm just very curious to see what it's gonna be. And it's gonna be really fulfilling either way.
Oh, yeah. There's so much they can do with her.
She has so much potential as a character. She's one of my favorite new characters. I actually am more interested in Ilya than I am in Oscar. And I think a lot of that is because Oscar is, in a sense, he is Ozpin. So he's already kind of a person that we're already familiar with to some extent. And
the further this goes along, the more and more Ozpin he's going to be, and the less Oscar he's going to be.
Yeah, and I feel like that's actually going to be a story point for his character. I feel like he's going to have some sort of identity crisis and be like, I'm losing myself to this ancient form, essentially.
I think it'd be interesting if Salem offered him a way out.
Ooh.
Be like, hey, is it really worth losing yourself, giving up who you are? Or
that would be really cool.
I've got a way to separate you and prevent it.
That would be... Ooh, I like that idea. Madman, you're so devious.
I mean, that's what I would do.
I know it's what you would do.
Salem, if you're watching this, take notes.
In case you're curious on how to be a bad guy, just...
I do offer lessons.
Pre-order the full 10-lesson course now, and get a second one for free. Just based separate processing and handling.
And a separate price.
Oh, and a separate price?
Hey, you're not supposed to mention that. I have to say it.
I'm a terrible spokesperson. I'm sorry.
Try to say it in a way that they wouldn't catch, Hint out the bill's there.
Yes. Oh, you have to say it really fast, with no breaks.
And a separate price.
That was perfect.
All right.
Order today! And I'm going to have 15 different comments of, you sound like Yang! Thank you. I did not know this. It hasn't been told to me 100 times. I love my subscribers so much.
They're great.
They are, aren't they? They're so wonderful.
I'm not just saying this because she's holding me hostage.
No. I'm not at all holding you hostage. You're not supposed to tell them that. I'll put you back in your cage, Madman.
No. Not the cage. Not the cage.
All right.
There was no tea for a week last time.
There was no tea for a week. Oh, that would be so bad.
It would.
That would be torture.
I think that would kill me.
I know. In case anybody wants to know how to kill us off really quickly, just cut off our tea supply. We're such weaklings. Just forget about the waterboarding. I'm taking away your Earl Grey. No!
Wait, what about the Irish breakfast? Yeah, I'm taking that away too.
That too. And the chamomile. Why? Can I have the chai? No.
Plain black tea and nothing to flavor it with.
Ugh. I mean, we would get used to it.
Eventually.
It would be better than nothing.
And then they would take that away from us after we got used to it.
they would give us like that really gross instant tea stuff.
Ugh.
In lukewarm water. Why?
Just to keep us alive.
You're gonna drink it and you're gonna like it.
I don't wanna.
It's so horrible. That would be so bad. I would die. That's it.
Yeah, that would be the end. All right, so let's move on to the next scene.
That dissolved so quickly. Unfortunately, instant tea does not.
Not at all.
Okay, so we get to see Finnick and not Finnick. I cannot remember he's not Finnick.
Yes.
Finnick and not Finnick. They are.
He does not deserve a name.
He doesn't deserve a name.
Random goon number 37.
Yeah. Finnick and not Finnick. They just received orders from Adam. Presumably over some sort of recording, like a recorded message, since the CC towers have been down since Beacon got attacked.
So, makes me wonder just how well connected Salem really is with all that stuff.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, she's got her own little Lovecraftian horror device to communicate things.
But it felt like to me that they were replaying it, like they had seen it before.
Yeah, that's exactly the sense that I got, was that was what had just finished playing whenever we see, message end or whatever.
Yeah. And with that, we see Fennec like questioning, are we sure about this? But still going along with it.
Yeah.
Because that's generally how that works in these types of organizations is, even if you have a problem with something that's done, you don't speak up about it, or you do it very subtly, and then you just go with it anyways.
Yeah. They're telling Ilya, well, these are the orders that we just got. And
you're going to play a crucial role in it.
Yeah.
It's a chance for redemption.
Right. And they tell her about Adam's mutiny, and she's visibly upset about Sienna's murder. And that's when she says it's a necessary sacrifice.
It looked like she knew it was coming, though. Or there was a chance of it.
Yeah.
Because she knew that Adam was going to take over.
Yeah, it seemed like whenever she asked about Sienna's fate, it was almost kind of like...
Did it go that far?
Yeah,
was it necessary?
She was kind of hopeful that it didn't go that
way.
Maybe
she stepped down, realized, there's no way for me to win this.
Yeah. And because of her murder, they're all worried about how the people of Menagerie are going to react when the news hits the mainland, or when the news gets to them.
Luckily, with her death, it will most likely be a martyr for the cause.
Yeah. And Adam basically said that, whenever he killed her, he was like, Sienna's going to be a martyr for our cause. It'll be the last... The
last deed.
The last deed of our great leader, essentially.
I don't see that backfiring on him. Granted, I see him being a martyr for the cause later.
Maybe.
Especially with the next little bit where they say, are we sure he's the one? He'll do for now.
Yeah.
It makes me think Adam doesn't have as much power as he thinks he does.
Yeah, so when we see the replay of that recording, it's very clear he's off his rocker. He is not all together, and he's very angry about the Belladonnas, and he's finally trying to make good on his promise that, at the end of Volume 3, he told Blake, I'm going to take everything away from you, essentially. And as soon as she ran off to Menagerie, I was like, why are you going to your family after he threatened to take everything away from you? I was actually expecting...
I think that was a defensive reaction, like, I need to be there to protect them when Adam strikes, even if it was just subconsciously.
Yeah, so I was really worried about her getting home and either finding them dead or getting attacked or whatever, and just having this horrible situation happen. Which now, of course, they're heading in that direction finally, and Ilya is the one who's been given the orders to kill Kali and Gira specifically.
Oh, yes.
Because Adam's like, I've got plans for Blake. Don't kill her. And that makes me really worried.
And also, having her do it takes another thing away from Blake.
Yeah.
It takes her friend permanently away from her.
Yeah.
Which is, if he kills Sun, that's the last straw.
Yeah.
Other than, Team RWBY, but...
Yes.
But their plans are to get rid of them anyways.
Yeah,
So, that'll happen.
We'll see what happens.
They work,
And like we've been saying, Ilya doesn't seem too keen on the idea of killing her friend's family.
Not at all.
So will she actually follow through with it? What is the price that she would have to pay for defying Adam? Because we see what he is capable of. Is she going to be safe from that? Like, is she going to find a way around it? Probably not.
This is definitely her crossroad.
It really, really is. And she might go ahead and do the thing that she obviously has reservations of doing and probably feel some regret afterward.
Or she might go down some third path that Monty hidden up his sleeve. This,
Yeah. I mean, they like to throw some twists our way. Be like, well, it's one or the other. Actually.
There's never just two options.
No, there never is.
Greek mythology kind of nailed that one with the whole three fates thing.
Right. So, do you have any predictions with your interest in politics and the like? Do you have any predictions on what Adam is going to be doing next?
The obvious is that he's going to continue to become extreme. More so. He's going to lose it, and when he's no longer together enough to lead the White Fang, they're going to get rid of him. In the same way they got rid of Sienna.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Like you said, they're kind of like, he'll do for now.
They've already when they got rid of the, first leader, that means, well, technically second, but
right.
That opened the door for it to happen over and over again as needed.
Right.
I don't think Adam realized what he did.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a young guy. Plenty young enough to make loads of mistakes and to have some nearsighted issues.
That's a big one, though, especially if you don't know for an absolute fact that the people right under you are absolutely loyal.
Yeah. I think that just goes to show his pride.
You see it all the time in business. The person who climbs up through the ranks by stepping on everybody, as soon as the next young person with a better smile and a great idea comes along, they fall. And they fall down the entire ladder to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's what Adam's done.
That totally does happen. That's a good point.
Adam fits that narrative perfectly.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll see what happens as far as his success. I would like to actually give a shout out to one of my wonderful subscribers. I know I have so many, but Charlotte, we've been talking a lot about Adam, and she was actually making some really interesting observations, some parallels between him and the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh.
Which I had kind of thought a little bit of that. I thought maybe there was some allusions to that with him wearing the mask and everything, but she was actually bringing up some really cool ideas, and I am not going to do them justice, but talking about the possibility of that having something to do with either his backstory with Blake or the future of their relationship. And that might actually include Ilya as well. So I actually would be very interested to see
where
some of those things play out. But I don't know. I like to be surprised.
Honestly, I think there's going to be a big fight between Sun and Adam coming up.
Yeah.
Just the way it's going.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you know anything about the legend of Sun Wukong, if they're going to stay true to that in any sense, then yeah, he's going to fight Adam, and it's not going to end well. And right now, it looks like they're sticking to it very closely. Yeah, it seems like they're on a crash course for that right now. Which, again, is why I'm like, I think Sun might die. I think Sun's going to die, and then something's going to happen to Adam. Yeah, maybe. I'm convinced his days are numbered. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's going to get put in his place somehow. I don't know if he's going to die. I don't know if somebody's actually going to kill him, but somebody is going to knock him off his throne. That's for sure. At the very least, he's going to be taken off the board. Yeah, and it might be by somebody who he considers an ally. It could very well be Salem being like, you know what? You've outlived your usefulness. I like that person. Or, I'm bored. What's the roster of the White Fang? They're leading. Yeah, I don't really get the sense from Salem that she would just make a decision out of boredom. She seems pretty calculative. Yeah. The very last bit of information that we're given at the end of this episode is that the messenger that Gira sent out has been taken care of. So he's been killed, he or she, by a dude with bat wings. How awesome is that? I thought that was really cool because, I don't know, what was that, like last year? That we were having a conversation about that, being like, is that a thing? Oh, that's right, like, we were. Vampire faunus? I think the conversation started with wings in general and then devolved to that. Yeah, yes, I think you're right. It was a weird conversation, but most of the conversations we have are. I will neither confirm nor deny that. I would just like to state that he nodded first and then made that statement. She has no proof. So, obviously, the bad guys have the upper hand. Which, I mean, they usually do in this show. They're pretty on top of things.
It wouldn't be a very good show if they didn't.
It's true. You know, good characters, that's one thing. But having even better villains, I think, that's a key to a good storyline. A very compelling storyline.
It'd be over so quickly. It was, hey, we've got the upper hand. We're going to beat Salem. There's nothing she can do.
It would be like a Scooby-Doo episode every single time. I feel like these meddling kids...
You'd run out of material so quickly.
Yep. And I don't get the sense that they're anywhere close to running out of material.
Oh, no.
Obviously, I feel like they had to... I feel like they're having to supplement certain things because obviously I feel like the further that we go into the series as a whole, the further away we're going to get from Monty's original vision, simply because...
His notes are hard to decipher.
Well, not necessarily that they're hard to decipher, but, I mean, there have been some things that they've said that basically... It just gives me the sense that he had more notes for the earlier stuff than he did for the later stuff. And so they're going to have to connect the dots.
And figure out where to go.
Yeah, so they're going to have to fill in those gaps and try and figure out as best they can to
They've also mentioned that there are a lot of scenes that they just didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And they've had to throw out.
Yeah. Like in Volume 3, there was supposed to be a random little encounter between Team Juniper and Raven at a cafe, I think.
Which at that point,
in like downtown
wouldn't have
Vale,
made any sense.
Right? And they had to throw it out simply because they were like, we don't know what purpose this serves, and
it didn't make sense
what
for the
context
character.
was. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure it did in Monty's mind. I'm sure he had a great idea of what it was going to be.
Maybe some way of taunting.
I don't know. Maybe.
Be like, hey, Yang, you're this close, but you can't get it.
Yeah. Could be. Or just a situation of being, wrong place, wrong time kind of deal. But, that's not a scene that we're ever going to get to see, unfortunately. Because of multiple reasons. Why did you kill Team Juniper? They were the best.
Don't bring it up again. We've brought it up too many times.
Yep. So this episode is entitled "The Feels." Why, please, why?
Why? No.
All right. Do you have anything else to add, Madman? Anything that you would like to tell your loyal followers?
If you're looking to become a villain, in addition to those discs, we are opening up a new location for my Villain Academy. Don't read any of the reviews online. The brainwashing is not a thing. No matter what they say.
Brainwashing is not a thing.
It's perfectly safe. We get all good reviews.
Schedule your appointment today. Get a free evaluation.
No, it's not mandatory. You just, are highly encouraged.
You're highly encouraged. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with me, Madman.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah. I'm glad that we finally got a chance to fit you in for an episode. It's been really awesome. And thank you to all of my wonderful subscribers. Everybody who has stuck it in this long with this ridiculous episode, and all the other ones. Those of you who've been faithfully listening since an hour ago.
Well, I am here, and I am pretty interesting.
It's true. They saw Madman's gonna be there. Well, now I totally have to listen to this episode.
Sounds about right to me.
All right. Well, if you guys like what you hear, if you guys want to see more content like this from me, then comment, like, subscribe, and blah, blah, blah. YouTube stuff. And
subscribe.
Brainwashing is not a thing.
There are 2 flowers in a vase. One of them is red.
everybody.